Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of BrickBucks Live. Once again, I am your humble host, Jim. We're also here with Shane, who you already know, and our guest. So grateful to have him join us tonight. David, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Wonderful, thanks. So, I could give a summary of what you do in regards to the universe of Lego, but I think the people watching this would be better served if you gave a summary of what exactly it is that you do.
Sure. Being on an island like Vancouver Island, we're a bit of a Lego desert, and it costs us about $250 to get over to a Lego store. So tired of waiting for Lego to bring an official store here, I opened my own last year, and we do everything Lego related, by the piece, by the pound, minifigures, retired, new, hard to find, easy to find. We also just opened up our birthday party room and summer day camps.
Wow, summer day camps. That's great. So you and I briefly had a few moments to chat before the live stream, and I didn't get an opportunity to say this, so I'm just going to say it now. If I ask a question that might be a little bit too prying and might be something that you want to play a little closer to the vest, feel free to tell me that, and we'll move on to something else. So you said Lego Desert, which I think is fascinating. I like that term a lot, and since you've kind of planted your flag there, I'm guessing instead of waiting for a Lego store to show up, you're just kind of hoping they don't show up ever, right?
Yeah, as I understand it, they want about 1 million people in a 30 to 40 kilometer radius. And our island just really isn't set up for that population density. When I spoke with them directly a few years back, they said that mathematically it was likely they would never have a store on the island.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you said you spoke to them, is that something? Did you reach out to them?
I did, yeah. A few years back, I told them that I'd be willing to manage a Lego store for minimum wage, no benefits, and low to no holidays, if they'd only bring one to the island.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
generous offer.
Yeah, quite the generous. I mean, I love Lego, but let's get real.
Yeah.
You said no benefits, so like you won't be able to get the discount.
Yeah, I was ready just to throw it all in. Just like that's the thing on the island. If you have $300 to spend on Lego at the Lego store, and it costs you $250 to get there and back, you're buying $50 worth of Lego, right? That's the mathematics behind it.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So talk about your first day opening up that shop. What was it like?
Sure.
What was your expectations? Were your expectations met? And what exactly did you learn?
It was interesting. My shop is in a small, what they call a vendor's market. So everyone's got a small, I don't want to say booth. It's more of a quasi booth store. They've got their own space that's walled, but mine was sort of out in the open, and I had about 100 square feet of retail floor space, and all of my display cases and everything looked quite hodgepodgey, and I got garage saled pretty bad. I'll give you $1 for this. I'll do 10 for that. So I didn't get Lego collectors in the beginning. So to answer your question directly, my expectations were not met, but at the same time, I kept them in check. So I was ready for anything.
Right. And I'm sure, things don't go the way you want it to go in regards to Lego, in regards to life. But and what we're going to be talking about that a little bit, because there is some breaking news, if you want to call it, in Lego world around something that might be happening in the next month or two. But I'm sure whenever you saw some of the things where you're like, I was wishing it might be a little bit better. You also saw opportunity too, and things, and I could be wrong, because I'm not in your store, but whether it's the birthday room, is that something that you had first, or is that something that you added a little bit later? And I'm curious how the birthday room went, and the reason why I'm curious is because about 20 minutes from me is a third party Lego brick and mortar store, and I've gone in there to buy some loose bricks for some things that I'm doing, and they said that they had a birthday room that they were turning into a bricklink store, because I guess there wasn't a lot of interest. But the population that I drive by, I said to myself, that's not surprising that there wouldn't be interest to have birthdays there. But I was just curious how the birthday room is going at your location.
Sure. So we just launched it 3 days ago, and I've sort of averaged a birthday booking per day, which isn't bad to start off right out of the gate. Build on.
Check out Shane's jaw just dropped.
Well, that's a good metric, right?
Yeah.
Shane's like, I could do birthdays up at my warehouse. That's what Shane's thinking.
Yeah, it wouldn't be dangerous whatsoever. That's amazing. Oh.
Wow.
And David, are you seeing sales from the birthdays?
Yeah, I mean, my eclectic work history, what I have learned is that between the two, it's service over product whenever you can. Service leads to product. And when your product is hard to find at a fair price, and to add onto it what you need to pay the bills and get ahead, you want service more so than product, which is what we have here.
Yeah, well, I think this, like, I've thought this for a while. When you think about e-commerce, and obviously e-commerce is what we talk about on this channel mostly. But if a brick and mortar store wants to, go up against e-commerce, and a lot of people will say brick and mortar is dying. Like, you'd be crazy to start a brick and mortar store. Not if you just focus on experiences, right? Like, if you look at the stores that are doing really well in today's world, when someone can order something online and have it shipped to them in a day or two, the stores that are still doing well and still surviving are the ones that have something else, right? You got the Barnes and Noble managed to stay alive. They've got coffee shops. They've got, experiences in the store. Sephora is still doing real well for makeup. They have all sorts of crazy, like, digital mirrors that you can see the stuff on your face, and like you gotta work on experiences to do well against e-commerce, I think. So to your point, that's all about service. Yeah.
And I mean, we have, like, in the front display case, in the main display case, we have about 850 different minifigures available. So just, I mean, like, that pales in comparison to a lot of other people. But again, if you have 2 glasses of water in a desert, someone's coming to you for at least one. And that's where I really luck out, right? Is that, you've got Walmart, you've got Toys R Us, and they've got what each other have. So for buying Lego. And then you've got the online world and the private selling. And you also, where I live, the majority of the population is above the age of 50, who, stereotypically speaking, are untrusting as a whole for online sales. So I really am sort of in that sort of perfect storm to do something like this.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, David, where do you get your inventory? You mentioned that, you do a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. Is it all used stuff?
Imagine an octopus on rollerblades in Costco, and all of the different departments of the store are where I get my Lego from. I pull it from everywhere. I've been buying and selling online for about 7 years. So I do have relationships with private sellers. My online sales come or online purchases come actually mostly from people out east. In Canada, they seem to have a lot of liquidation world type stores. These stores will buy out other stores at pennies on the dollar, and then they'll put it up, whatever. And people reach out to me, hey, I got a dozen of these. Are you interested? Oh, well, I can't do it for that much, but if you throw in shipping and knock it down to here, I'll take a dozen, sort of thing. And I mean, it's a bit of a, it gets, a bit of that sort of like low ball-y type thing. But I mean, there's this show called The Liquidator. If you've never watched it, find it on Amazon Prime or whatever. Give it a shot. This guy's out of Vancouver, and I love his perspective on buying and selling. It's great, and I had to remove my heart from a lot of it. If you want to make a store work, you're thinking about the bottom line all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And are you buying product in store as well?
If I have to fill a hole in my shelf, like if I've had a really successful weekend, and I've got holes on the shelf. I mean, people buy from a full shelf. Let's just say that and be very, confident in that one thought process. People are less inclined to buy from a shelf if there's a hole in the shelf. However, they're more inclined to buy if there's only 1 or 2 boxes on the shelf of that set. You see what I'm saying? So you want the shelf to look full, but you don't want too many of the same set. So even though I have a dozen, I've only got 2 on the shelf, because they'll go, oh, well, fear of loss. What if someone else comes along and buys it? I've been looking for this. I'm not going to wait till next week. I'm going to get it now. Mm-hmm. So can you repeat your question? I just want to make sure I answered it.
Oh yeah, well, so I'm going in so many different directions here with my thought process, because you're really sparking some really interesting thoughts with that point. But my question was, do you buy from customers? Do you offer trade-in options, and people can come into the store with their collections and sell them?
It's funny, what people will bring me is amazing. You get all walks of life. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, they are doing a lot of their research on Amazon and eBay. Where a lot of Lego savvy people are looking to Brick Owl and Bricklink for a little bit more down to earth pricing. And so people will bring me stuff and they'll go, well, this is worth $300 on Amazon. How come you're only offering me $150 or whatever? And I always have to tell them, well, first of all, I have to double my dollar. That's the mathematic to this store. If I'm not doubling my dollar, I'm not turning the lights on in the morning. And second of all, the prices on Amazon and eBay, these are including the cost to sell on Amazon and eBay. So that's why those prices are inflated from what the collectors would consider this is actually worth. Mm-hmm. So, and just to add to that, sorry to cut you off, I am not entirely quick to educate my customers on Lego. I feel that does not behoove my business very much.
Right. Yeah, I mean, what you just said, it reminds me when I used to sell cars. People would come in and we would buy people's cars. They didn't need to, buy a car from us. And they would bring in a BMW. We go and appraise it. And that takes like 20 minutes. And while they have 20 minutes to kill, they'll go out on the lot and see how much we're selling that BMW for. And and they think they're savvy. And you would think, Pawn Stars would, teach people that, hey, we're buying low and selling high here. And, I'm just going to add to what you said. And this sounds bad whenever I say it, but, I'm putting it in a good context. What kind of partnering up with what you said, like, you don't want to educate your customers. I mean, the last thing I want to do whenever I was selling cars is make people think, because then they're going to start, coming up with goofy stuff, and they're like, well, maybe I should look at the minivans. I'm like, really? Because you're here for a pickup truck, because you need it for work. Why are we going to? No, how about we don't go to the minivans? So, so I love that you have that, piece of business acumen there. it's just, so good. Now, how would you, and without getting into specific numbers, unless you wanted to, how would you say your brick and mortar store does? Do you think, because you mentioned you're kind of in a Lego desert, that you're going toe to toe with, if there was a Lego store there, or you're at least on par with the Toys R Us in Canada? I know there's still some Toys R Us in Canada.
Yep.
Where would you say that you are?
I mean, to put it into a numbers perspective, I had $1,000 day today, and that was a milestone for me. So,
good for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was a milestone for me to do $1,000 in a day. I'd come close around Christmas time, but I had never actually broken that threshold. So it was like $1,005. So, in regards to what Toys R Us or what Walmart is selling, I mean, they've cultivated a shopping conduit, right? And people will follow the path of least resistance. When it comes to shopping, we're either making emotional choices or memory choices.
Right.
And a lot of people have a muscle memory of, robotically going to these big box stores, picking up the box for their kid who won't shut up, and then bringing it home, hoping that they've got, an hour's worth of peace out of this purchase. And I mean, it works out for them sometimes, and maybe sometimes it doesn't. But coming to my store, what they are getting is they are getting a bit of a Lego experience. So, it's kind of like comparing, like I guess like a canned orange to a fresh orange. They are of the same thing, but they are not the same thing.
Right. And I think and you correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's worth pointing out, you said today was your first $1,000 day. You did that on a Wednesday. Like, you didn't do that on a weekend. So
That's
I'm,
right.
I'm not sure if like 2 months from now, or 2 months ago, you were saying to yourself, I have that expectation of hitting my first $1,000 day on a Saturday. Because, we talked to a gentleman maybe a month and a half ago, and he only, opened up his store on weekends. So I think that's, very notable to mention that you killed it on a Wednesday.
Yeah. It's I've always said, like, any business that's surviving the pandemic is doing something right. Any business that opens and thrives during the pandemic, those guys are doing something as close to magic as it gets in our reality.
And
Wow.
again, correct me if I'm wrong, the sky's the limit when it comes to your daily revenue, right? Like you haven't even you haven't even come close to peaking yet. Is
That's
that
correct.
fair enough? Yeah. So it's where are we at in July? We still have half of the year to go. You're gonna have quite a few $1,000 days left in this year. I'm pretty certain of that. Especially now, talk about Q4, if you don't mind. Now, you don't have a Bricklink store. You said you did for maybe 5 minutes, and that's something we'll chat about a little bit later. But somebody that is strictly doing brick and mortar, how do you prep for Q4? I'm guessing you prep much different than someone like myself or Shane. What exactly do you do?
I mean, the big thing for me is finding people in the summertime who are looking to clear out their personal inventory or their over expenditures, and they've got seasonal stuff that they want to sell. And usually, because it's not the time of year, all of a sudden that set, for whatever reason, seems to be worth a little bit less to them. So, I'm getting offers for, those Christmas sets, those themed Christmas sets, all right around the $100 range. Even some of them that, right around Christmas time are going for 300. So it's buying 6 months ahead. I've always said, if you're setting up for Christmas in October, you're 3 months late. You really are. you know. And
I'm laughing because you're 100% true, and
yeah,
there's some people that just don't get it.
yeah, you need to be well ahead of the curve. You know, and like even an Olympic athlete, you know, they go through the run in their head, you know, well before they're on the starting gate, and that's how you have to look at it. Any professional will tell you the same. And I'm not saying, oh, I'm a professional la-di-da, but I am saying that I would like to emulate the actions of a professional, and I believe that's something that they would do. So that's what I do, you know, as I get as prepared as possible, without, you know, taking Monday's dollar away from Sunday.
That is a great way to look at it. That is awesome.
Yeah. And David, I presume, so you said you started last summer?
That's correct. I started actually, my first day of sales was September 1st last year.
Right. So like in many ways, you could almost think that this Q4 is kind of like your first Q4, because last Q4 you were in prep mode. You probably had to, you know, you had your seed money to invest in even getting started. You couldn't really think about prepping properly for Q4. You were prepping for opening day, right? So this year is probably the first one you can take a breath and really think about how you're gonna tackle it. Yeah. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I went into Q4, people were asking me for Christmas stuff, and I was scrambling. I was scrambling to keep up because, you know, I mean, it was just 4 months ago that, you know, I had my first sale sort of thing. So, I mean, I had a little bit of personal inventory. I mean, to put the numbers out there, which, you know, I'm not shy of letting people know. I'm not bragging when I say this. I'm hoping to inspire, which is I started off my shop with literally $800 worth of inventory. It was like $815 worth of inventory, and now we're sitting near right around $50,000 worth of inventory.
Well done, man.
My friend, you're making me feel like a slacker, because back in 2012 I started out with $800, and I had like, you know, a few hundred elf on the shelves. This was pre-Lego. And you're making me look bad. I feel like I need to freaking call a realtor tomorrow and have them look for a brick and mortar store for me.
You know,
that is awesome. That is a testament.
It was really something else. I mean, and I'll be fair, like I haven't paid myself outside of making sure the bills are paid, and taking my gal out for dinner here and there. But I haven't like cut myself a check or anything like that. I've put it all back into the business, because the broader my foundation, then the brighter my future. And you know, this store is my stepping stone. And from a very young age, I had the mentality of you never let your stepping stone become your tombstone. And the best way you can do that is to have a nice big stone that you cannot possibly trip over.
Yeah. And so, David, you're saying that you're reinvesting everything. How does that reinvestment kind of look? Is it mostly inventory, or are you doing, you know, a lot more marketing and stuff like that now? Or
so, you know, marketing is my favorite. I mean, Facebook, what a wonderful thing. Figure out how to use Facebook. Figure out how to show up on someone's news feed you've never talked to. You know, watch a couple 8-hour videos, or 8-minute videos on Facebook Ad Manager. And that'll really open your eyes as to who you can get to see what. And then word of mouth. Ask someone for a Google review. You know, don't be shy. Ask someone. Say, hey, you know what? I'm a brand new business. A Google review would mean the world to me. And get your Google account set up. You know, it's for you know, if you're doing a brick and mortar in a small town area sort of thing, like Chemainus is, where my store is. You know, you need people talking about you. If you're not being talked about, you're not being purchased from. So, you know, when it comes to reinvesting and that sort of thing, very little is spent on advertising, and everything goes back into product. It all goes back into product.
That's awesome. So, if you don't mind, we'll just cut to it now. Talk to us about your bricklink experience.
Yeah, sure.
and you know, from conception to end, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, right, time is money. And if you aren't very computer savvy, Bricklink is probably going to lead to more frustration than fruition. I think that for me, it led to a lot of frustration and very, very little fruition. I did have a Bricklink store under my brick and mortar name, Brickety Doodah. I had it for about, I want to say, I had it for about an hour and a half. I say 5 minutes, but that's an over exaggeration. But in the grand scheme of things, so I put an order in. It took me about I had an order come in. It took me about an hour and a half to pull it all because I was very new and just sort of figuring out my layout. Oh, where's this? Where's that? So hour and a half goes by, and the customer messages me via Facebook, not even through the actual store. Messages me via Facebook and says, "Yeah, actually, I don't want it anymore."
Huh.
And I went right into the interface and closed the store.
Wow.
Just like that. Boom. Done.
Well, I would like to say, maybe you should have given it a second try, but something tells me that fate told you to just close it, and it's probably for the best.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, I'm the first person to give the advice. I mean, we've all seen it floating around the internet when you're having a bad day. I mean, think about that game, Super Mario Brothers. When that first Goomba caught you up right in the beginning of the game, did you turn it off and never play it again? No, you turned it back on, you used your other life, and you stepped on the Goomba and got on with it. A lot of us even finished the game. But for me, time is something that I highly value. We don't know how much we've got. We're always going to be running out of it, and we're not going to get any more of it. And so I took that and I held that close to me when I made that decision, because I would never go through that process again. And of course, not knowing anything about Bricklink, I didn't know they had protection against non-paying buyers. Now I understand it. A Bricklink store might be in the future, but let's be honest. You're running after a whole bunch of nickels. That's what you're doing per piece. You're chasing nickels, and I'm really not. I'm a one-man show for now, and I'm not interested in it.
Wow.
Right. That was something I was going to ask you. Are you the only employee at your shop?
I have two other employees. They are kind of just sort of getting started out. I have a birthday host, and so he'll engage with the kids if the parents want to purchase that package that includes a host. He'll sort of create a flow to the party. He'll engage with the kids, and he'll make sure the kids have a good time. And then I have someone who will run the shop for me when I'm doing the day camps, so the kids get to build directly with me.
Cool.
Gotcha. Because when I can't remember if I shared this on another live stream or not. When I went to the brick and mortar store on my way to work, for the first time I walked in there, and there were two kids that were behind the counter, and they were putting sets together. And whenever I spoke with them and they said that they were doing a Bricklink store, I said to myself, well, that would be perfect, because if they're putting sets together, it doesn't take much for them to fill orders, or at least have one of them fill orders. So, that's it's kind of interesting. So,
yeah. And David, so you mentioned that you're, like, when you're talking about your inventory, you're using analogies like an octopus on roller skates in Costco. Are you doing retired stuff, or is it primarily stuff that is readily available?
Yeah, so my product line, we have a really strong dedication towards stuff you can't get on the island. So not necessarily Lego exclusives, but like they do the salt and pepper shakers. They do those, like, the home decor type stuff, backpacks. These are things that Lego, or that the Lego department in Toys R Us and Walmart doesn't have, probably never will have. So I do sell that as brand new. I do sell currently on the shelf sets. And then because I do consignment, I sell stuff that people bring in, like like I guess like the Bugatti, the Porsche, those larger Technics. I have about, I think right now, outside of my personal inventory, I think I have about $10,000 worth of consigned goods in my store, maybe a little less now. So then of course, the single minifigs. We sell previously experienced sets. I don't like calling it used. That lessens what it is. It's previously experienced, especially if it was experienced by an adult. We build differently, right? So I have all of that. Some with minifigs, some without minifigs. There's grab bags of just random pieces. Basically, whatever you could imagine in the Lego world, that will be available in my shop.
Right.
What would you say your bread and butter is? And when I say that, I guess I'm talking about margin. Would it be the loose bricks?
No, actually, it's minifigures, or has been minifigures. Going forward, it looks like it's going to be birthday parties. But when it comes to just the product side of the store, it'll be minifigures. I mean, I don't sell at Bricklink prices. I'm not in competition with the guy who's racing to the bottom, blowing out his inventory. Bricklink, the pricing too is a little askew because you've got one guy listing something at 50 cents and another guy listing it as $50. And so what do? Do you go with the lowest Canadian price? Do you go with the average? Do you go with the new, the used? I mean, where do you want to throw your dart? You can pick and choose at that point. So what I do is I've created my own backlog of information, my own database, if you will, of what has sold at what price and how quickly. And I use my own pricing system to figure out what things are worth in the minifigure display case. I sell my Ninjagos and City Figs for $4 a piece, and they seem to sell just fine. Whereas you could go on a Bricklink and most of them are going to be listed at about $1.50.
Right. Mm-hmm. Do you know how many minifigs you sell a week?
When I was looking at it, I was looking at it during a peak time, so it's kind of skewed. If I had to average it, I would probably say anywhere from 100 to, on a really good week, 200.
Okay. So as you're ramping up, I would think, earlier I said the sky's the limit for you. I would think in a year or so, 200 would kind of be the norm almost.
Yeah, I mean, what ends up happening on a busier day is I'll end up having a lineup right out my store for them to be able to come and look at the 8-foot case. And everyone sort of takes their turn, tries to decide quickly what they want. And of course, a child's mind, they have a hard time. I see them scanning back and forth, like the Terminator looking for his target. And they can't make up their mind. The mom's sort of poking at them. Well, you like this one. You talked about wanting this one. And so, for me, I mean, it's quite enjoyable to see the kids' faces light up. But yeah, when it comes to it, 200 will probably be on the low side once we really sort of get going. A lot of people still don't know about me, but that's because I've almost chosen to do it that way. I didn't want to put the word out there too quickly before I had enough product to satiate everyone.
Right, because you don't want to dry up and then people be like, oh, he doesn't have anything. And then
that's right.
So you said you don't do a lot of marketing, which again, I think is fascinating. Do you at least do maybe periodic newsletters or, send out information 4 times a year?
The best thing that I've found to do is to post something relevant in the local buy and sell groups. A lot of the buy and sell groups will be more than happy to have you, post once or twice a week. If you've got a sale coming up, if you've got a big order of something, a certain genre, hey guys, just got 200 Star Wars figures in, you got to come down and check it out. Or, I'm doing buy 4, get the 5th free minifigure sale. So something like that, something worth talking about. Most buy and sell groups, they're pretty happy. So I've got an audience on the island. Last time we did the numbers, with sort of looking, okay, well, the groups get quite incestual, for lack of a better term. Everyone's joined every group. Why are there so many? No one knows.
Right.
But we did the numbers, and it was about 180,000 people that I can actually potentially reach through the buy and sell groups.
That's it? Only 180,000?
Oh yeah, I know, right? Yeah, only. So when you consider cost, like I did an ad on the radio here. It ran for 30 days. I asked every single person while it was running, how'd you hear about me? Every single person said Facebook. So every person that came into shop and made a purchase, I asked them like faithfully, how'd you hear about me? Facebook, Facebook, Facebook. Not one said I heard your ad on the radio.
Right, right.
Good song comes on, we're jamming to it. As soon as the commercials come on, we are automatically tuned to tune out. We're not listening to commercials unless something really sort of hits home. And so I feel like, you know, we've been training ourselves to not pay attention to advertising for so long that we've kind of gotten good at it. And now, you know, people touch their phones more than they touch a glass of water. So that's the best place to really get the word out there is on Facebook. It'll show up passively. They can interact with the advertisement, right? They can send you a question right then and there. And that's what people want, something engaging. The radio is a one-sided talk box. The television is even worse. Billboard on the side of the road. What was that? I don't know. I barely saw it. Also, you're not supposed to look at that stuff. You're supposed to focus on the road. So all of these forms of advertising, I think, are kind of falling away in effectiveness.
Yeah. I work in digital marketing, and at this point, I can't understand why anyone is spending money on print media. Yeah. You have the ability to put your ad in front of pretty much anyone that you want, you know, if you learn the targeting settings and stuff like that. So David, how does your breakdown look in terms of themes? You know, do you see drastic kind of skews in that regard? Do you have, you know, Star Wars taking up a big chunk, or how does that look for you?
I think most popular right now is, and probably always will be, much to my chagrin, is the Star Wars. I love the movies. I just, you know, I don't know who this guy's name is or what the hell the Chewbacca is, but they can't get enough of the Star Wars. They just can't get enough of it, and I have a hard time bringing it in at a fair price because it holds its value, you know. And I have built the Millennium Falcon, the gray one, you know, every different version, probably a minimum 6 times, and I've pulled it out of bulk, right? Built it and sold it off, and I could have a truckload of those show up, and I wouldn't have enough of them. It is really something else. And then, you know, this this show that they just did, of course, The Mandalorian was a big one, and then this other one, this sort of animated show, was a big one too. And even if you don't have stuff from that, you've got a dad or an uncle, or even, you know, like a much older brother going, oh yeah, well, you know, you got to have this Moth Gideon, or you got to have this freaking whatever green-haired snake lady Jedi chick, got to have one of these. So I got to find out who are these people? Why are they worth so much? And it boggles my mind. So most of I don't see the emotional value. I don't see the connectivity. So most of my Star Wars stuff, I can't keep it in stock because I'm not pricing it as a collector, right? I'm pricing it as someone that knows this kid's going to grab it and love it. And I don't want the mom or the dad to be missing a car payment because they bought a Millennium Falcon from me.
Well, there's nothing wrong missing a car payment if it means I'm joking, but
if it means buying Lego.
Yeah. Yeah.
David, so as you're talking as well, you know, like with you can't find enough of certain stuff that's you know, highly demanded. But then, you know, a previous statement that you made around when we were talking about Bricklink was, you know, some of the minifigures there tend to be massively underpriced because there's a race to the bottom and the sellers are competing with each other. That's a distinct advantage you have with having a brick and mortar store, is the lack of competition, right? Have you considered ordering a ton of Star Wars minifigures from Bricklink sellers and putting them in your store? You know, it seems to me like there might be like an arbitrage opportunity right there.
I have considered doing that. You know, it's a thought. that crosses my mind whenever I'm spending any time looking for minifigures. The thing of it is that, you know, I've tapped into some of the Facebook groups, and there will be people who will sell me minifigs at $5 a fig, you know, pretty much regardless what fig it is. And they know I'm buying to resell, and they're okay with that. And so, you know, I'll buy 100 minifigs, they'll ship it for free. And then I'll sell the minifigs at $10 a piece. Right. So, and maybe that Darth Vader's worth 30. Maybe this C3PO or R2D2 or whatever is worth 4. But at $10 a piece, everybody's leaving with a minifigure and they're happy. And I mean, I have my minifigure stand, like I sent you off that picture. I don't know if it was very clear or whatnot, but I have my stand set up so that there are some higher up ones, right? But most of my pricing for the higher end stuff is well below what I call perceived collectible value. Let's be honest, it's worth what someone's willing to pay, not what a website told us we should charge.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sometimes that stuff can get crazy. And what about, like, I guess parting sets out to try and, you know, to get minifigs from the sets? Sure. I imagine there's some value doing that in some cases.
Yeah, there is some. If you find it at the right price, what I find is that if the build isn't well known enough, what you end up with is you know, free Lego, which is great. But you know, if you're pulling minifigs from sets and then just sorting your loose bulk, I mean, with my loose bulk, most of it ends up in my own creations, and that's just for fun. Now a lot of it will end up being able to be used in the birthday party room and the day camps and whatnot. But ultimately, if you're pulling minifigs from sets, you know, my personal recommendation, if anyone did want to take it, would be make sure you're getting a steep discount on the set, and don't expect anyone to buy your, you know, your battle pack playset just because you pulled all the minifigs. A battle pack playset doesn't look like much without minifigs, right? So, you know, that being said, some of the sets are great. Just about anything Harry Potter, the Lego is, you know, nonsense, and the minifigures are what everyone wants. The smaller ones, anyways, not the larger ones.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's just like it's such a fascinating world. I think when I'm getting my head into the brick and mortar space, because there's just this other, the lack of competition creates all of these other opportunities, I think, you know. And but you mentioned you have sold online, and before we started the show you mentioned that you do about 10% of your sales online, right?
Yeah.
So where do you currently sell? Is it eBay? Is it Amazon?
No, I didn't even check into those rabbit holes. I find that there's too much. I mean, sure, you've got your Amazon badge or your Amazon profile, your eBay profile, but what creates a level of trust is just selling on Facebook, whether it's locally on Marketplace or in some of the national buy and sell groups. I mean, in Canada, we've got an amazing group. It's over almost 6,000 members, maybe even more. The admins, they work very, very hard to make sure it's running like a top. And that's not easy to do. I know from my own personal experience. So Lego Collectors Canada, I'm going to name drop them. They work really, really hard to make sure that in Canada we have a group you can depend on. And of course, you know, if you're scammed or whatever, there's the group holds no liability. You have to go through your own channels for you know, to be you know, taken care of, compensated, whatever. But that group, along with the Lego, the Canadian Lego Auction House, which I co-admin, and a couple of the other you know, lesser known smaller groups, they do create a trust because you see the same people buying and selling all the time. So a lot of the product that I get that's been previously experienced anyways, it is purchased through people through these groups that I've formed relationships with. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So like, do you find that maybe that's, is there a ton of time sink involved when you're like dealing with people through that kind of avenue?
Dealing with the people, not so much, because everyone knows, like, everyone that I'm dealing with, they know, hey, I might not be able to send the payment till tonight, but they're usually quick and easy about it. Shipping is pretty dependable in Canada. I mean, it gets bad around Christmas time, but that's for everyone, I suppose. But when it comes to the shopping, the looking for the stuff, that does seem to be quite random. Oh, hey, look at that. Yeah, I'll definitely grab that. No, it's been posted for 3 minutes. Lucky me, sort of thing. So there is a bit of a, dragging around a horseshoe with you wherever you go online, hoping you find the right stuff. But then, there's also people out there who have my wanted lists. My customers have wanted lists. I've passed them on. And if they can, if these sellers can offer me a fair deal, then, I'll bring it in and pass it on.
Right. Yeah.
So
Okay.
time-wise isn't too bad.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm gonna pull up a question or two from the comments real quick. So we have one here. How long after retirement should I sell my Lego sets? And David, I'm not sure. So I asked, do you sell retired stuff? But what I didn't ask is, do you intentionally hold them for some period of time before you list them for sale, or before you put them on your shelves? Do you take an investing mindset on some of those, the retired stuff?
Yep. So I don't really focus on when it comes to the certain genres. I really do the stuff that won't go on sale anywhere. So it's a lot of the black box stuff that comes out. The sort of 18 plus stuff. This is the sort of stuff that is too niche for Lego to really sort of redo it in 10 years, like a Millennium Falcon or something like that. So, I mean, the longer you wait, asterisks. So in answering that question, it's kind of a loaded question. When should I? I mean, it's all speculation, but you've got some sort of keynotes. One, you want to get out of the bubble before the demographic that cares about what you've got passes on. Look at model trains, right? You want to always sell highest at Christmas time. And that's sort of, that 2 week period, the 10th to the 20th, that's your sweet spot right there when it comes to trying to get the most, if you're trying to do it from an investor's perspective. And then when to sell it, obviously you want to wait for it to retire. And then after it's retired, wait a year. If you're not in a hurry for the money, wait a year. There's a lot of other people out there that need the money because they're only going to do 100% return, not 200. So if you're waiting a year, it's likely you'll get 200% return. If you can wait. If not, there's too many piggies and not enough teats, as it were. So that's what you're up against, right? When it comes to buying and selling in any product.
Yeah. And Jim, do you want to take a stab at this one as well?
So this is a question that is asked often, and I don't mind that it's asked often because, tomorrow there might be somebody that is deciding to go into reselling, and next week they might have that question posted. It really all depends, right? So what I'm going to do is, and I didn't have any intention to mention it, but I'm going to mention it now, was what I wanted to do for a future YouTube video. And when I say future, I'm talking about probably the first week of August. Was I was going to look at the sets that I purchased last year, and I was going to pick out like my top 3 or 4 return on investments to date. Like I haven't sold it yet, but what they're trending at, so people could kind of visualize that. And I'll also have what my 3 worst trending return on investments is. So it really all depends. I mean, the popular sets, and I'm not going to speak to Star Wars, but the Winter Village theme is something that you may be able to have a whole time for 12 months. I purchased as many. What were they? The Jurassic World T-Rex tech set. I think it was like a $86 set. And I purchased it. I try to purchase as much as I can at the very end. So I think I only got like, I don't even know, maybe 30 or 40 of them. And I think they're trending right now for $250. So you're talking about a 6-month hold time going from like $85 to $250, which is not bad. So, you know, there's not a perfect answer, but again, you know, for some themes, and Shane, I know you laugh at these themes. The phone it in themes, the speed champions and the Minecraft, they tend you could get away with selling that in less than a year, but at the same time, that's not.
Oh, do we lose him?
Yep, looks like it.
Yeah, I mean, I can weigh in and add a little bit more on that because I'm pretty sure I understand Jim's Jim's approach pretty well. The one thing that I would like to add to it and to round out this question is to have, when you're making a purchase, when you're first buying the set, you need to think about what return on investment you're going to look for, and you get that return on investment by past experience over time, but in the beginning you get it by a ton of research, right? Researching comparable sets that are similar, that have sold at similar price or at certain prices on various different marketplaces online, and you use those things as much as you can to make some sort of estimate or forecast on what's possible for the set that you have in mind to buy. So then you have a kind of essentially a target price, right? The target price is based on your research, and then, you know, you can monitor when the set first retires and it starts to appreciate, monitor that price action and, you know, see if it looks like it might get there within a certain time period. Then, you know, I like to base it more on the price target and my expected return on investment than a particular time frame, right? I don't like to say I'm definitely going to sell after 12 months. Right. Sometimes it'll be 14 months. Sometimes it'll be 16 months. If I have a particular price target in mind to reach a certain return on investment. Now, the caveat to that is Q4, right? And we talk about this all the time on the channel, which is Q4 just has so much more sales velocity and it's so much easier to sell your stuff that sometimes in Q4, I'll just let it go at that price if it's close enough. I won't let it wait till January, February, March if it's close enough, because what you can actually see happen is sometimes the Q4 price is elevated and then it comes a little bit down again before it goes back up again. So if you miss the boat selling in December, you might have it till another 6 months for an extra $10 sale price, which is not good economics.
Yeah, and you know, I think what Shane did maybe a month ago, he posted a video on the Patreon group explaining how, you know, 100% return on investment. And I apologize, maybe you said this while I was disconnected, but you know, is much better than holding it for 2 years at a 200% return on investment. So you know, there's a lot of things you could do as a reseller to kind of second guess what you're doing and create this fog. But if you just stick to the basics and fundamentals and revisit those basics and the fundamentals that you laid for yourself at the beginning, you know, I think that it will continue to strengthen you, even if you become a seasoned reseller.
Yep.
That's good advice.
Good question, though. Thank you.
So I'm not sure if we should dive into this now. I'm just going to go into it. There is, I don't want to say breaking news, but there has been some discussion on the public Facebook group regarding Lego, and even on the YouTube channel in some of the comments. And there was a whole big hubbub talking about this on the Patreon Facebook group earlier today, where Lego, and I'm not trying to be dramatic by any means, but is, I don't know any other way to describe it, is wanting to declare war on resellers. And apparently there is something big coming down the pipe. And I'm going to use the word allegedly because there's only two things I'm afraid of. That's God and my father, and I ain't afraid of Lego. But there are some potentially future restrictions on Amazon. Apparently, they're now gating people that have been ungated very recently in Speed Champions. You can't sell Speed Champions for some people. There is a document that is from Lego that somebody posted on the Facebook group. If you're watching this and you're not a part of the Facebook group, you're really missing out. And they're pretty much talking about, they only sell to their approved merchants, and they are, they're going to make sure that those approved merchants do not sell to resellers. And there was a gentleman who I know personally that is on the public Facebook group who snapped a picture at a Target in Cincinnati. And there was a shelf talker, a placard on the shelf that's pretty much calling out resellers. And there are some people, I received quite a few texts tonight that are like, what's going on? What's going down? I've heard some things from my third-party person that I buy Lego off of. And my opinion is, and I'd love to hear Shane's opinion. David, I'd love to hear your opinion. This might be the first time you're hearing about it, David. My opinion of this is that things happen. I'm not saying, I don't believe this will have, if you are business savvy, I don't believe this will have a negative impact on you. And, they may be able to restrict some people in Amazon. I definitely don't think that they will be able to restrict everybody on Amazon. But there is no chance that they're going to be able to restrict anybody on eBay. And I have been saying probably for the last 6 or 9 months now, I'm liking eBay a lot more than I like Amazon. And I'm thinking about throwing my stuff on eBay exclusively 100% within the next couple of years. And that is because of their tax policy that is coming down. You used to be able to be under the radar at $20,000 and not get a 1099-K sent to the IRS. Now it's only $600. So I think you're going to squeeze a lot of the, novice people out. And if you have to pay tax on eBay, you already have an Amazon shop, those prices are going to, I think, increase. And if they're squeezing people out of Amazon, I think the floodgate's going to open up to eBay. So I'm not saying, a 1-for-1. The prices will be the same on eBay as they are Amazon, but I think they'll be a lot more competitive than what they are. So think that StockX that now sells Lego, I think there's a huge opportunity in that. And honestly, whenever I saw that document, the first thing I said to myself was, man, I need to call Shane and see if we can build some sort of platform to sell Legos on. So I think that will create opportunities if you have, that one or two go-to, renaissancebricks.com or, classicbricks.com business where everybody will know through message boards, through Facebook groups. I mean, you said you're able to reach 180,000 people, right? So, yeah. So I was just wondering what everybody's thoughts were here. And, I had a lot of people message me and I said, just if you're able to watch a live stream, I'll share it with you. I think that there might be a small speed bump a little bit down the road, but that's with anything, right? I mean, you have a brick and mortar store. What happens if you get, 12 feet of snow for 1 week in December? I mean, that's a speed bump in your business. Mm-hmm. But I don't believe that there will be a huge effect like some people are worried about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I 100% agree. I think I want to caveat any comments with like we're still learning about all of this, right? So anything that Jim and I both say is kind of just an opinion based on early information, and it's all brand new stuff that's unfolding. But from what I've seen so far, I don't think anything is different, right? I really don't, because Lego have always hated resellers, and they've always been done everything that they could to restrict them. That's why we have retailers that have anti-reseller policies. Target have been banning accounts for buying Lego for resale. Amazon obviously have quantity limits. You know, you can get around these things in certain ways, but they still exist, right? They have quantity limits because they don't, you know, they're partnering with Lego to only sell certain amounts to an individual person. We heard stories of, I think, was it Fry's that were doing stickers on every box that said not for resale. And, you know, so there's, you know, this has been a long thing that Lego have been doing. And then the Lego store themselves, obviously, with only selling you one or two of every unit or of every SKU. The letter that they released, or that, you know, we saw today, it was just reiterating that same stuff. It was basically saying, you know, we are, and it was intended, from what I could see, it was intended for their retail store partners, right? So this is people who buy directly from Lego as their distributor. And it was intended for them. And it basically said that we have a program for approved partners, and anyone who's not on that list should not be buying from us. And we don't want you to sell to them either, right? So it feels like they're just kind of reiterating something they've always been doing. I agree with Jim that, you know, there'll always be demand for retired Lego sets, and that demand will go somewhere. If Amazon decide, if separately to this, you know, what they're doing right now with their retail partners, if Lego are also going to Amazon and Walmart and asking them to shut the doors and regate the brand, what's going to happen is exactly what Jim said, right? We got eBay is going to, you know, it's going to boom for Lego, because Lego fans will find a way to go and buy that 20th anniversary Slave One, and resellers will meet that demand with their inventory, whether they do that on Amazon or they do it on eBay or StockX or Facebook Marketplace. And the other thing I would say is that this whole conversation here with David, if that doesn't excite you more than, you know, anything else, like he is selling in creative different ways that, you know, Jim and I don't really talk about on the channel. And if Amazon was to go away tomorrow, there are other opportunities out there, just like what David's doing here, you know, in terms of opening up a store, paying a little bit of rent, but put the stuff on the shelves and doing it that way. So that's my thoughts, and I agree with Jim that we should not worry about this. There were horror stories a couple of months ago about all of these letters for more Amazon gating and information needed to keep SKUs alive and stuff like that. It went away. You know, it's never as bad as it sounds, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, if I can add to that, I mean, you get a cake as big as Lego. I don't care how sharp the knife is. You know, there's always going to be crumbs, and we're going to find a way to pick them up, and that's the deal. That's always going to be the thing. I mean, you can't sell cars without allowing someone to resell it when they're done with it. You can't even, you know, sell cars and they're not even done with it. They're going to find a way. And that's the age of technology we're in. That's the innovation that drives people to make a dollar. And people want to earn doing something they love and have it involve something that they love. And I think that this is just, you know, when you get a lot of lawyers around a round table at the upper echelons of a company, you'll get decisions like this. But when you get passionate fans, and, you know, that's who's at the round table at the upper echelons, you'll see less of this. And I think maybe right now at the upper echelons of Lego, you've got a lot of lawyers, a lot of really business savvy people, and a little less fun and a little less love of Lego at that table. And so that's why we're seeing things like this. And I think I saw something like this as early as, like, maybe even a year or two ago, there was some sort of a sticker on a box and someone was complaining about it in one of the groups. And, you know, if we're seeing that a year or two ago and nothing drastic has come of it, I don't know. I'll wait for a chunk of cloud to hit me in the head before I believe the sky's falling.
It's a good way to put it.
I'm going to have to sign off. I hope that's okay. I don't mean to be abrupt, but my kiddos just come home and I want to go and give them a big squeeze.
That's a great reason, David.
Yeah,
right. This was a lot of fun.
Children.
I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys check back in with me, you know, before Christmas or something. I'd love to do it again. If you know, if people enjoyed what I had to say anyways. If not, I'll crawl back into my brickety-doodah, and or as my wife likes to call it, frickety-doodah, and go sell Lego.
Absolutely. And David, do you have any online presence, any website or Facebook you would like to send people to learn more about you?
You know, if you want to check me out, it's pretty low key just because I love the in-store experience, but you can check me out on Facebook. It's just Brickety Doodah. Give the page a like if you wouldn't mind. That really does help. A follow is great, but a like really helps other people sort of see it. Maybe people on your friends list, people from the area. And don't be shy to message me. Maybe I've got something you've been looking for and you can't find it anywhere else.
Awesome. Well, Dave, thanks for coming on. Greatly appreciate it. You know, you're definitely not the first brick and mortar person, but each person we talk to has a different footprint, different perspective on it. So you definitely filled up my cup of information. Shane, anything else you'd like to say?
No, just a huge thank you, David. It was a very insightful conversation. Made me think about a lot of things. Congrats on 800 to 50K in 1 year. Everyone listening should be well impressed with that. Yeah. So all the best with everything going forward.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you very much, guys. You guys have a great night.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you once again for joining us to BrickBucks Live. Stay tuned within the next 2 weeks. We're hoping to have another important person that has their own unique Lego perspective on, and we could learn a few things from them. Shane, anything else?
All good.
All right, everybody. Once again, thanks for watching. If you haven't, please like and subscribe. It does help us out too. And have a great evening.